This is Tech Addicts. This week, the Honor Magic VS, the Honor 80 Pro and the Honor 80, the TCL NXTWEAR S glasses, Palm OS emulator for your phone, something for men to pleasure themselves with, and Ted's got the power. Hello and welcome to the Tech Addicts podcast. I am the host Gareth, and this is the host Ted.
Yes, indeed. It's Ted Salmon here in North Wales. A very cloudy, kind of cold, but warmed up for the weekend North Wales with cold weather coming back during the week. No rain and no sun. Northern Ireland?
Well, that was actually a marvellously efficient summary of the weather that you swept into there rather than saying, hello. Blue skies all around, but it's chilly. Chilly outside.
Chilly.
And there's been floods and things like that this week. It's been very exciting.
Oh, right.
BMWs have driven through floods and flooded their bits and not been able to carry on, and thus stopped traffic, and there's been tailbacks and people have been late for work.
They should have been more sensible, shouldn't they? They should all have bought a tractor.
Yes, something very fuel inefficient but can quite easily handle the weather.
Indeed,
yeah.
You've got it. So yes.
So nothing exciting, new, or strange or startling?
No, nothing really. I've got nothing to report as usual, except that I bought a telly for my Christmas present, and it's a TCL, and I'm looking forward to getting that up and working. I've made enough space to get a 40-inch version. Because you may remember that space was the problem. So the 42-inch and the 43-inch units were just going to be too big. But this TCL 40-inch one just fits in. So fingers crossed.
Very nice, very nice. That was a Black Friday deal then?
Yeah, there was a bit off of it. I had a budget for my Christmas present from the family for £200, and so I was trying to find something under that, and it was about £30 off or something. It wasn't a huge saving, but there was some off of it. And it's got Google TV and built-in Roku, which I won't use because I've got my Roku stream bar. But it seems to have quite a lot of stuff built into it.
Okay, excellent. Yes, I bought a few things this Black Friday as well. I bought an Amazon Basics 1 terabyte micro SD card to stick into my tablet and fill with media. Yay. So just in case I ever get, called away to Australia or Singapore, I'll be able to entertain myself the entire way with media.
Yes, very wise. Was that an Amazon, did you say Amazon Basics?
Yes,
because they were £92, weren't they?
Yes, and I think that's a phenomenal price. You could also get it on, I'm just opening up here, 5 monthly payments as well of £18.60,
right,
which I think is virtually nothing to notice going out of your account, in exchange for a whopping great card.
And the 512...
Don't know how long it'll last.
No, the 512 gigabyte version I noticed as well. It's like we're doing an early bargain basement here. That was even cheaper, obviously, but it was, proportionally a good deal as well. I can't remember how much it was now, but it was significantly cheaper, of course.
Yeah, but it's sold out.
Oh, is it?
But the Amazon Basics card was U3 V30.
Yeah.
So it was a good, solid, fast card. I think that was a spectacular deal that they did there. And I was really tempted by those crucial portable SSDs. I hovered over it many, many times because they knocked down the price of them to silly rates. I think I've got the 500 gigabyte open right now, which is £46. But the 2 terabyte, was down from 211 to £106.
Yeah.
Oh, it's got. I didn't see this the other day, but it's got 5 monthly payments.
Ooh.
No, you know what? I kept noticing this. I put this in my basket because I thought, oh, I might get that because it's £106. I'll be okay. I'll maybe get the SD card, or I might get this. Not sure which. And I put it in my basket, and when it was in my basket, I saw the 5 monthly payments.
Oh, right.
It didn't show up on the main listing, which I thought was weird.
Yeah, that is.
But figured it might be something to do with Black Friday, and they didn't want the processing power of being able to work all these things out on the fly or something. I don't know.
Oh, right. But yeah, that's a good deal. I wonder who makes them. It'd be interesting to find out, wouldn't it? And see if it's what the rebadging is about. Because I mean, there's not a little bloke in an Amazon suit actually making them. It'll come out of some Chinese
No, there's not.
factory, won't it?
If I plug it into WHD or whatever it's called, the crystal disk info and things like that, it should tell me, shouldn't it?
Oh, right, okay. Go on then.
Might. I don't know. I've never done that. Well, I'll have a look when it arrives, see if it does anything. The Western Digital had a pretty hard one to avoid. I'm just having a quick look to see if it's on monthly payments. The 20 terabyte Elements desktop external hard drive, 20 terabytes, down from £486 to £369. I resisted. I didn't pick that up, but I was close to it. And for an extra £60, you could get expert installation. Wow. Plug that USB
Someone comes around the house and plugs it in for you.
Wow, 60 quid for that.
Oh, the other thing, which is, again, leaping forward to Bargain Basement, which I got, was the Anker 521 Powerhouse, which will be of interest to you. Steve Litchfield decided for services to PSC and my Christmas gift, he leapt on a Black Friday deal on that, and it was reduced from 3-something to 209 quid. And he sent it over, and I thought, yeah, that's very kind of you, Steve. Thank you very much. So I've been kind of looking at that and playing with it and trying to work out what it does and asking Steve loads of questions about mathematics and physics, and he just boggles me with what's what with it, and the volts and the amps and the wattage and why milliamp hours are irrelevant to some degree, and what you're supposed to use it for and what you don't use it for, and CPAP. I'd never heard of CPAP, which apparently you don't need to use the power saving function for. Anyway, it's got a lovely display and lots of information. It's about 4 kilos. It's got one 3-pin plug on the front, and it's just really nice. That long white bar you can see on the picture there that I put in the notes is a light, and on the left there's a little press button, and that light's actually pretty nifty. It's not hugely bright, but it's very, very good. And yeah, so I'm enjoying kind of exploring that and seeing what it does, and maybe in the summer I'll get some sort of solar panel or something and try and, because what the summers are becoming in the UK, I might as well try and charge it by some other means and test that as well.
Yeah, and then you'll be able to power yourself during the winter. Nice one.
Indeed.
Yeah, and you've, from the picture here, you've set it on top of your turntable.
Oh, on on top of my turntable cover, and contrary to what you might think, it might break. It won't. This is a project turntable, after all. Classy stuff. But yeah, you're right. It doesn't live there. I just put it there because it was at the time convenient. It's not there now, I assure you.
Yes, but this is a very heavy battery, and it'll get heavier the more power you put into it.
Really? Oh dear. But it's a nice idea, and yeah, I'm as I say, I'm exploring it and seeing what it does and what I can use it for, and I'll see. It's not Steve. When I said to Steve, how much is it got in terms of milliamp hours, he said that it's not a valid question. Basically, you don't think like that. But if you absolutely have to think like that, then it's about 50,000 milliamp hours. But it depends on how you read the data, because you could argue that it's 80 milliamp hours. But it depends. Sorry, 80,000 milliamp hours. But it depends on how you. I really don't get the physics and the maths. I don't. My brain can't work it out. So I'll try harder.
Okay. Yeah, I suppose that's Steve's the expert there. He's the whiz.
Yeah.
But that's strange. It's a battery.
Yeah, and it's not a lithium-ion battery. It's a lithium ferrous life something or other, which makes it. Apparently, the difference is that it makes it last longer. Not last longer as in between charges, but the number of charges that you can put through it before it starts to deteriorate. I think the figures say 3,000 charges before it starts to deteriorate, and then the deterioration will only go down to 80%. So that's what the battery tech difference is between lithium-ion batteries. Yeah.
Right. Okay. Yeah. But that's exciting. I look forward to see how you're doing. I did notice it was down to some. They reduced it to £209.
Yeah, that was it.
And I was quite tempted by it, but be honest, I just bought myself a 1 terabyte SD card, and I thought, I don't need this as well.
It's not something you possibly need, but if there was a power cut, you could plug in stuff to it, like your router and a laptop, and you could kind of keep going a bit. And hopefully a power cut would only be a few hours, and that would get you over the hump. But I mean, you could argue how often are you going to use it. It depends, I suppose. If you go camping on whatever you do, go down the beach and you're pushing the limits, and that's what my kind of testing will be about. Well, not going camping. Those days are behind me, I think.
Well, just what you said there, you can plug in your router.
Yes.
But being on Virgin Broadband, the little box that comes into the house requires power as well. The Virgin Broadband comes in through a hole in the wall, and there's a wee white box that they attach to the wall, and then it plugs in, and then it stretches off around to the Virgin Home Hub thing,
right?
Which distributes and does the modulation, demodulation stuff. But that thing on the wall, it also requires power as well. So you need to plug in two things.
Yeah. And you need to plug in your laptop as well, under my example. So you need a little extension thingy, wouldn't you? And no one item can be more than 200 watts. So, well, in this particular one, the more expensive one is 500 watts and up from there. But this one is 200 watts. So, you can't boil a kettle with it or, run the fridge with it from it.
Okay.
It's not that beefy. It's for small items like routers and computers and stuff, and keeping stuff going in that respect.
So it keeps you going in the event that there's a power cut and you need to record the phone show.
Indeed. Absolutely, I could.
Steve's
and I could
covering his bases.
Yes, indeed. Yeah,
cunning. Also, it'll be interesting to see because I think Steve has Jackery, doesn't he? And you have Anker,
yes,
so you could do sort of testing and see how far can you throw each of them, and which one lasts
which
longer.
One bounces the furthest.
Yeah. Which one sinks faster if you drop them in the lake? Cool. Yes. All right.
Oh, it's not waterproof.
Brilliant. Oh.
In no way. I saw a video on YouTube actually of someone taking it apart, and you could see inside what it's all about. It's quite interesting to watch, but it's clearly not in any way waterproof.
Right. Well, it's an interesting pickup, and we look forward to seeing how things go in the future.
Indeed.
All right, moving into the hard line for the hardware. Okay. Right. So, how do we tackle this one then, Ted? I haven't really thought about it since I put it in the show notes.
It's very, very naughty.
It is. If you're easily offended, I suggest you fast forward by a few minutes. But Quick Brown Fox, the PR company, I believe they did HTC back in the day. They sent me through a couple of things to talk about. There was one that it caught my eye as to a thing that you can buy. And it is a sex toy. And it's for yeah, it's for the man side of things as opposed to the woman side of things, which opened my eyes that there's a man side of things as opposed to just a woman side of things. And it's from Lelo, Lelo. And effectively, to try and describe it, it's like a collar that you place round your
knob,
pokey outy bit. And it relaxes it a lot, over and over again, frequently, at increasing and decreasing speeds. Yes. It's 71 millimeters wide by 143 millimeters long, so it's huge in comparison to 5.6 inches. That works out to be, and 2.8 inches wide. It can sit on standby for 90 days, and it can be used for 2 hours.
You have to recharge it, do you?
You do, yeah. I think it's USB Type-C as well. I don't know if you can use it whilst it's charging. I didn't look into it too much, but they asked if I'd give it a bit of a mention. Mm-hmm. And I did. I'm not getting one to do a review on, but Dad, would you like one to review?
It's funny, how we kind of shy away from this stuff. But when I saw this in the show notes, I specifically got the URL and went to an incognito tab. I don't want this stuff on my Google history, so I didn't even click through and look at it. But yeah, it's some sort of it's as you say, it's some sort of tube tunnel thingy that you stick your knob in, and presumably it massages you and. You'll have to try it out. For goodness sake, you've got it there now. Have a go.
Oh, well, I'm not asking for one for review. I figured you might like one because you've got bugger all else to do with it.
Oh, I see. I thought you meant they sent it to you.
No. They
right.
they sent me the link
right.
to ask me to have a chat about it because they're 150 quid and they might be a good Christmas present for some people. But I'm having a look at the webpage to try and investigate what exactly it was. I did notice if you scroll down toward how to use, it gives you prep, and it allows you to apply a generous amount of Lelo personal moisturizer to it on the internal sleeve.
Enough. Let's move on.
Yeah. So those things are out there, and I'm now more aware of the world. Are you?
I think we're so kind of frightfully British that we shy away from stuff like this. But there's nothing wrong with sex and sex toys, and we just kind of all think it's a bit of a taboo subject, and we really can't talk about that. Stiff upper lip and all that. And,
I know, yeah. Whereas any other show, I would be, oh yeah, I'm fine about that. But whenever I actually have to directly talk about it, I feel like I'm talking to my mum or something like that, and having to dress it up really nicely, so not to offend. I do apologise to anyone who does have some proclivities, would be the word, about these sorts of things. But they're out there, and there's a new one on the block.
Yes, 150 quid.
Nice. Well spent. Right, so TCL, I haven't heard of them in a while. The NXTWEAR S is a 130-inch screen that you can take anywhere. So instead of your TV, Ted, you could have bought a pair of these bins, stuck them on your face, because essentially they're smart glasses that allow you to have a 130-inch screen in front of your face. And I remember watching a video about these.
Yeah, we did. We looked at these a while ago but apparently they're now here and you can buy them, or you will be able to in January. And they don't pretend to do. They're not smart glasses. All they do is allow you to watch this screen in front of you, and they've done it quite cleverly in the sense that they've made it. The projection and the reflection towards your eyes a bit further away, so it looks like the projection is further away. And 130 is it 130 inches, is it? Yeah. So you've got this whacking great big screen in front of you, but it doesn't try to do anything else. It doesn't try to be a smart. There's no cameras on it or anything else. It looks a bit daft, but they do come with these pair of sunglasses thingies on the front, which you can put on. They make it look a bit less stupid. And apparently, the speakers that come from the ear thingies, from the, what are they called? The prongs that go to your ears. Legs, arms. Apparently they're quite good as well, which makes it all very... I'd like a go at this. I mean, they do look stupid. They look chunky and clunky and daft. But if you were, sitting on your own and you wanted to watch a thing, and I suppose the only odd thing is that...
With your Lelo
pleasure
console.
Yeah. I suppose the only odd thing would be is that if you move your head to look out the window or something, then the screen would go with you, and you'd have to take them off to go do anything else. Anyway, yeah. What do you reckon?
Oh, right, okay. So the screen follows you as you turn your head.
Yeah, I think so.
Right, okay.
So you've got to sit still.
Yeah, it makes sense. It wouldn't do it the other way around. That would be a bit pointless, where the screen's in one position. Yeah. I don't know why I got on board with that for a second. It's another step toward us having some sort of in-your-face display technology without having a display.
Yeah.
We're really... I love how we're all trying to or all these big companies are sort of trying to find the next big thing that goes beyond just having a screen in front of you, because a big screen isn't particularly good because you can hurt your neck as you're looking around it. The limited short throw projectors and things are really good, but at the same time they do have their problems, and they can be very expensive. So getting something into people's hands where they can use this to consume media or do stuff, work and things like that, and be more productive without having to monopolize an entire room will really benefit.
Yeah, I think it's a nice idea. And they're not wildly expensive. They're £350 or thereabouts. Well, unless that's the Kickstarter price. Maybe they're more retail, but they're not like Google Glass prices of £1,500.
No. Oh, did you say the price there?
£350 thereabouts.
£350. Right. Okay.
But that might be as I say, that might not be the retail price.
That would work. My son has been laying down hints that he wants Oculus for Christmas, which he's not getting. Not at all. Well, not £450. Also, he's 10 and has developing eyes and doesn't need that kind of issue. His mother's already blind, hence the fact you married me. And if he has her degrading eyesight, then I feel really bad for him. But he seems to have mine, so I imagine he'll have good, strong eyes with 20/20 vision. But it also means that he'd have to have a Facebook account too, which I don't want to give him. So, this would be a slightly better option, maybe, because it does them both, and it's a bit cheaper.
Yeah, definitely. Well, as I say, watch out on the price though, because Kickstarter prices can be double for retail. Yeah. So it might be £700. Well, I don't know.
Well, we'll see. I can get this when version 2 comes out next year. All right, Honor Magic VS is the kind of follow-up or the improved version of the Honor Magic V, the one that we didn't get. This is a folding phone by Honor that looked gorgeous. I remember seeing some of the videos that were leaking out of China when it was coming out, and it just seemed to have everything, and it had a pretty phenomenal camera on it as well. This one has a 7.9-inch foldable OLED, which has a pixel resolution of 2272 by 1984 and a 90 Hz refresh rate, and a brightness of up to 800 nits, so the screen really is rather nice. There's an external 6.45 OLED on the front, which is 2560 by 1080, and it has 120 Hz refresh rate and supports HDR10. So this thing is all singing, all dancing, and there still isn't any word as to whether or not we're going to get it. They say international shipping will happen in Q1 of 2023, but there's no actual British prices available. There is euro and dollar price. But Ted, did anything leap out at you from this?
Only that initially I was wowed by it, and I thought that this looks really good. But then I mean, they've obviously put this out to challenge the Samsung Galaxy Z Fold4, and when you compare the specs, now okay, the Fold4 is 300 quid more, fair enough. But for those 300 quid, for that 300 quid, you do lose quite a lot of stuff that the Samsung does give you. I could go through a list of that, like Gorilla Glass Victus Plus on the outside, which the Honor doesn't have. You've also got to live with the Honor Magic UI, which I've had a quick look at. There's the new version 7 is out, and frankly, I'd much rather have one UI from Samsung. There's a 120 hertz refresh screen on the Samsung, but this is 90 hertz. There's no wireless charging, which is a real miss, which the Samsung has got. Of course, you've got all the DeX stuff with Samsung as well. And okay, you've got fast charging and a bigger battery on the Honor, but I think the wireless charging is a real boon. And I don't know. I mean, overall, if I was up in this territory looking for a phone of this kind of ilk, I think I would fork out the extra 300 quid and go the safe way and the better specified way with Samsung. Know what I mean?
I do, but this has a few things that I quite liked about it. The idea of the stylus, I figured it was a pretty novel approach. And what Honor does with their cameras, I really like, because they are... I always feel that they have their fingers on the pulse of the youth, whereas Samsung try to please everyone.
Right.
But Honor has the ability to be able to just tap into what's hip and trendy, and you can imagine, Instagram lovies using this sort of thing maybe more so than a Samsung type.
Yeah.
The kids would have this. It'd be more artistic. I don't know. That's just my impression of it, and probably incorrect as per usual. But I think it's a nice option for folks out there.
Yeah, quite possibly. We'd need to see one in our hand, and there are little things as well, like Wi-Fi 6, and the Samsung's got Wi-Fi 6E. I know that's a little thing, which probably is insignificant at this time, but it's just like the Samsung feels more rounded, and it's got 8K video recording, and the other one's got 4K, the Honor, and there's OIS in the main camera with the Samsung, and there's not in the Honor. I don't know, and I really don't. Have you had a look at Magic UI 7? I just don't like the look of that at all.
No, you're right. That is always a problem. But I suppose some people like it, some people don't. Depends on how. If you're entrenched in it, if you've been using Honor for a while, you probably do like Magic OS, and you don't want to move over to One UI.
I totally get that. Yeah,
totally. In other Honor news, we have the Honor 80 Pro and the Honor 80, which are arriving with 160 megapixel cameras and 66 watt charging, and nice curved OLED displays as well. What can you tell us about these?
Well, I can tell you that the difference between the Pro and the non-Pro model is about 100 quid. And they are largely very, very similar. There are some things that are not similar, obviously, because in the cheaper one you get a Snapdragon 782G, and in the expensive, the Pro model, you get an 8 Plus Gen 1. So the chipset is different. The screen size is different as well. So the Pro model has got a slightly bigger screen, so the whole device is slightly bigger. But yeah, they've both got 120 hertz refresh displays, 1000 nits brightness, and they've both got the same storage options, pretty much the same camera setup, 50 megapixel selfie on the Pro, 32 on the not Pro.
Which isn't under screen, it's what do we call them? Punch out.
Pinhole. A punch hole thingy.
Yeah,
one of them's a punch hole and one of them's a pill shape, actually.
Pill shape,
yeah. And one's got 4K video shooting and the other one hasn't. It's got 1080p, so that's a difference. And same batteries, same 66-watt charging, no wireless charging on either of them. But yeah, you're talking about 500 quid and 400 quid for these two, and yeah, they look half decent, and they could be well be on a shortlist to get up to date specifications. And I'll stop waffling now. Your turn.
No, they're very nice looking, and I especially like on the Honor 80 Pro, they have that kind of infinity style 8 symbol around the cameras. The Honor 80 is a wee bit more boring and looks a wee bit, well, I suppose it looks a bit more like a camera actually. No, they're both nice, right. But I'd rather have the 80 Pro in my pocket.
Yeah.
For that styling choice that they made there. Yeah, it's very nice. Very nice. Interesting to see what Honor's doing.
Very good.
So, next up is the Samsung Galaxy S20 or A23 5G, which is hitting Japan with a 5.8-inch LCD. And it's got some nice IP68 rating as well. So, it hasn't got your typical screen, Ted, but it's got something that you would prefer,
which is the size. Screen. Yeah, it's got, and it's also an LCD. So I mean, I wouldn't particularly want one myself, but if it had an OLED panel and it was just a bit more upmarket, it's significant possibly that this is only being released in Japan, and it's got a kind of lower end chip set, a Dimensity 700. And 4 gigs of RAM and blah blah blah. Yeah, I think they're pushing this out in Japan to, grannies and kids. To be honest, it's a nice dinky little device. I do like the size of it, but I don't think we'll ever see one of these over here. So, but it's just interesting to see it going through.
Yeah. I don't think people tend to really buy the smaller screens. There is a small niche of people who like the smaller screens, like yourself and a couple of other people here, there, and everywhere.
Yeah.
But people generally want the bigger screens, which I don't get either.
This is the screen of this size. The screen size of this is between the Pixel 4 and the Pixel 5, so it's even smaller than the Pixel 5, but not silly small like an iPhone SE 2020. That's tiny. So I quite like it. I think it will do quite well in Japan.
Yeah, it's not Granny and the child watching Underdog.
Sorry,
that was like many years ago, wasn't it? Just one of the profile art things there has a dog in it in a superhero outfit. That looks like Underdog.
I see what you're talking about now. Oh yeah, there's a granny and a kid in there. I told you, didn't I? Yeah, you're right. Wonder Dog. Is that Wonder Dog?
Oh, maybe it is one. Oh, yes, a W on his chest. I don't know.
Wonder Dog.
Cool thing.
Probably some
kids
Japanese
are into
thing
these days.
Yeah.
Or it's just an out-of-date granny, as you might expect.
It's going to be 32,800 yen, which means about $230. So not cheap, but yeah, I think it's dinky. People will like it.
Cheap. Okay, one of the other phones that's coming along, and it's a rather good looking, I have to say, is the Oukitel Oukitel WP21, and this is quite notable because of the size of the camera on the back of it, which has a screen in there as well that looks more like a smart watch than anything. It's a rear-facing screen that has, well, a rather large camera sort of bump sticking out of it, and it's got a 64 megapixel main sensor, and it's got a MediaTek chip inside it. It's IP68, IP69. I don't think they can make their mind up there. 9,800 milliamp hour battery inside. It's a rugged phone, which is kind of nice, and it has an unusually fast 66 watts of charging. Ain't that wonderful? What else can we expect from this, Mr. T?
Yeah, I guess the answer is updates, because these phones that come out of the Far East, from these kind of lower end brands just don't ever seem to get any. They push these phones out, particularly Oukitel, with whacking great big batteries in them, which is great. And 66 watt charging here, and this kind of mil spec ruggedness thing going on, and then they just abandon them on day one, which is a real shame. But yeah, the whole thing is being sold on the back of this interesting back end, as you say, with this clock come smartwatch come. I'm guessing that's not Wear OS or anything. I'm guessing that it works on its own operating system, and so it'll be just baked into whatever it is that they're doing on the phone. I don't know. They're talking about it being $300 to buy, and you'll have to import it from AliExpress or whatever. You won't get them mainstream in the UK anyway, and probably not America either. But yeah, just interesting because it's something different, I suppose.
It is, and they're championing a $250 price tag as well on AliExpress currently.
Oh, right.
So that'll be their 24-hour final price if you buy it between November 24th and November 29th. 24 hours inside of that somehow.
Oh, right. That's about now then.
It is, yeah, these 24 hours with another 2 days to go for that 24-hour deadline.
Very good.
No, I do like the back on it. It does look like it'd be cool if that sort of ran Android Wear or something like that and worked like that.
Yeah. It would certainly be, but I can't imagine it will be, as I say.
All right. Serious news, but a serious news here for the UK folks. It looks like the UK Digital Services has managed to reap almost 360 million from the US tech giants this year, which, if you have a look, people do complain greatly about the amount of tax the likes of Amazon and Google and Apple make or pay here in the UK, and in their new digital sales initiatives, the UK government has managed to claw in close to 360 million, and they say by around about 24-25 they should have clawed in about 3 billion's worth of tax, which, if you compare that to how much Matt Hancock spent before COVID or over COVID, might actually, well, not really fill that pot that's missing. Really. Ted, what do you have to say about this?
Well, I think it's just going to encourage these tech giants to do more of what they're doing already, really, which is having a kind of token presence in the UK with some offices and some outlets, but actually running everything from Europe. We know that half of the Amazon stuff is dealt with by Luxembourg, is it? I think it's Luxembourg. And if you look at the kind of where it's coming from, it's often Amazon EU and not Amazon UK. And I think they're all the same. And Ireland as well. Ireland, they all kind of camp out in Ireland, don't they? And if you get something delivered by Google, it comes from Ireland usually. And these digital services presumably are doing the same thing. They're just camping out where their shareholders can not have to pay not corporation tax, digital tax, digital services tax. Yeah. And £360 million, as someone pointed out in the Mewe group, is an absolute drop in the ocean in terms of what they are, which is reflected in the fact that they're aiming for £3 billion in 2025. So,
which is still really quite small as well compared to how much shopping we do.
Exactly. So it's very difficult for the government to know what to do, really. And dare I say, this kind of goes back to Brexit to some degree as well, because if Brexit had not happened, then these companies would be working under the same or similar controls. Let's not go down the political route. Anyway.
Anyway, you brought it up, so
let's
move on. Right, back to Robocop. Our first story about robots this week. San Francisco police are seeking permission for its robots to use deadly force, which is preposterous absolutely preposterous. This is a world where we recently had on the news a child who was playing chess with a computer robot. And the child made a slightly illegal maneuver or confused the robot a wee bit, and it almost broke his hand. So I think that this San Francisco police robot could end up doing very bad things, because if you talk to a policeman, there is no simple black and white how to deal with any situation on the street. Everything has too many variables for them to actually be able to write down a proper handbook or manual on being a police person. Doing this with a Robocop is just going to end up killing people unnecessarily and shooting people in the dick, as happened in Robocop the movie.
This has come out of. I think this has come out of the fact that of that hoo-ha in America, where the school was under siege, and all the police were standing around not making decisions quick enough to deal with it and sort it out, and so more children were killed than should have been if the police had acted quickly. I think it's probably come from that incident and other ones like it, and they're saying, right, if we, instead of having police officers on the scene there, we'd have robots who we could control from a safe distance, we could have actually eliminated the threat, i.e. killed that lunatic who was terrorising that school, and less children would have been killed. So you can see where they're trying to go with this, but on the same score, you're right. I mean, these systems, robots are not perfect, and who knows what might go wrong with it. It's a disaster waiting to happen, isn't it? But is that a worse disaster than having policemen that don't or can't deal with the situation, and so more kids are killed? I don't know. It's a big topic, isn't it? But obviously San Francisco police think that robots is their answer.
Well, I've just made an interesting and very, very important analogy of this robot that they're showing off.
Right.
See if you have a look at it, right? You see where the gun is? The barrel of the gun sticks out.
Let me have a look. I haven't got the page open. Oh, yeah.
Right, go directly down from that.
Yeah.
And you can see some connectors where it says B and A underneath it, and there's red and black connectors.
Oh, yeah.
You can plug in your speakers.
So you can talk to your victim.
Or you could play some music while it's going in there. You could have the Robocop theme tune coming out. Dead or alive, you're coming with me. That's what this could say.
It looks really vicious, doesn't it? But
It does.
I don't know, if you were the parent of one of those kids, you might be saying very positive things about this. If this was in use, my child could still be alive now. And
yes, that's absolutely true. But at the same time, some human somewhere has to take the decision to send this in instead of an officer who can make choices that aren't based on protocols and dynamics and all those sorts of things. You can have a human touch going in. So would you have police being in behind this, making sure that this does the right thing and doesn't get caught on a corner and the shotgun misfires and takes out a load of kids instead of the gunman?
Yeah. It's a big bunch of questions, isn't it?
Yeah.
For sure. And there's probably not any simple answers. It depends on which direction you're coming at it from. Like I say, if you'd suffered because of a situation, you might be saying, this could work, let's give it a go. And if you hadn't, you'd say, this is a disaster waiting to happen. For goodness sake, don't be so stupid. So, yeah.
No. These sorts of things work for going in and tampering with car bombs and things like that. We have them here.
Yeah.
And they provide unparalleled support for the police. And they are very, very useful. But they have human control behind them. And this, I don't see being a particularly useful piece. And you know, the cameras aren't bulletproof, I'm sure. You know, they could be taken out by a shotgun blast quite easily, and then this thing's rendered useless as soon as it gets in there, but it's already done the damage that was already done by the police sending it in the first place.
You send in a second one and a third one.
Well, what you could send in is the golf robot that uses the Microsoft Kinect camera. I thought we would never see Microsoft Kinect again, but it appears that it's reared its ugly head. Ted, what can you tell us about this travesty?
It was just interesting to watch the little video, really. It's a very short video in the link.
There's a video?
Yeah, in the YouTube video in the article, which we're linking to. It's a very short video, it's only about 30 seconds, but it shows this machine successfully making a golf putt. I mean, we've been used to robots doing these kind of things for such a long time now. Clever Honda robots that do all sorts of stuff, but it was just kind of interesting that they've applied it to golf now. And it looks like it's quite clever and works out. If you've ever played golf, you'll realise how difficult golf is to master. Which is why people make so much money doing it well, I suppose. And those multiple decisions about terrain and wind and conditions and the flow of the green and the water and the dryness and the blah 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 blah, all those things that your human brain processes when you're playing golf to make a decision about how to play. This machine is taking all those in, and it's apparently doing really, really well. They're talking about 70%, up to 70% of the time, it's just getting its shot. Just to be clear, this is only in terms of putting, so they've got some way to go to actually send balls down the fairway of driving with drivers. This is just on a putting green. Anyway, it was mildly interesting, I thought.
It was, and it's a rare success that Microsoft Kinect camera has been used effectively to be able to do something, because it certainly didn't do its original job particularly well.
Yeah.
Unless you wanted to dance with Han Solo. Right, moving on to In the Name of the Game. And Abernic are releasing another handheld. This is the RG505, an OLED gaming handheld that's coming out for about $150. It features Android 12 and can do stuff quite nicely. Under the hood, there is either 128 gigabytes or 256 gigabyte. Oh, that's a micro SD card. Right, okay, sorry, whoops. It's a 4.95 OLED display, which I believe is the same resolution, 960 by 544 as the PSP, which is a nice wee screen, I suppose. It's got the Unisoc Tiger T618 with 4 gigabytes of RAM and 128 gigabytes of eMMC flash storage, plus a 5,000 milliamp hour battery, and it promises to be an effective retro gaming emulation machine. Ted, are you going to buy one?
It's more of the same, isn't it? This company, particularly Abernic, and others like it, that litter Amazon these days, they're all thinking that people won't want to use their phone. They want to use a Nintendo Switch Lite type device or a Steam Deck device. To have physical buttons on, and I don't know. Do you think that these are selling? I guess because they're all over Amazon, they must be selling. But as we've said before, a lot of people would just say, "Well, hang on a minute, I can just do all this on my phone." Particularly if I put it in some sort of gaming grip thingy or whatever. I don't know. I just wouldn't have thought there would be a market for this. Certainly not Android ones.
Well, yeah, they tend to, up until recently, they ran older versions of Android with a bit of customization in it. So it wasn't, if you try and do it, I've been trying quite a lot recently to get some retro stuff running on my Pixel 6 Pro, and it's all right, but the amount of times I have problems getting the actual controller to work with the phone over USB, because it's a wee bit finicky. I would much rather just ditch it all and get myself a nice dedicated piece of hardware. Also, you don't have to fill up the storage that you might already have, unless you've got a 1 terabyte storage card that you've just bought in the Black Friday sale. You might not have the space on your phone to be able to have this. So having dedicated hardware controls that costs around the same as, well, fractionally more than some of the game controllers that you can pick up. I mean, the GameSir that I have, I think it retailed for about £60 when it first came out, whereas the Anbernic RG3050P handheld is £90, and that comes with a 32 gigabyte micro SD card, which, you know, that is already better value for money, because you don't need to kill your battery in your phone and fill it full of emulation, and you can take a call while you're playing. You can just hit pause and then go and use your phone for something else. So I do think there is a market for these, right, and it makes sense to have two entirely different systems for dedicated gaming folk like us.
Okay, like you.
Yeah.
I do kind of accept that, but yeah. Maybe it's all to do with cost and value and kids as well. I mean, because presumably, in order to use this, you'd have to sign into a Google account, would you? Or do you think that it comes with stuff you can use without having to go and use Google?
That's a fair point. I'm not entirely sure. I imagine you would be able to sign into your Google account, and it would show up as yet another device that you have on your Google collection of devices.
Because presumably legal ways of getting stuff onto it would come through the Play Store, wouldn't they?
Or I think they generally arrive with a bit of an overlay on them that has the emulators already built in.
Oh, right, okay.
Or else you go and grab something like RetroArch, which is in the Play Store, or you can sideload it yourself, and then it can go and get the emulators for you, and then you obviously provide your own ROMs, which are the legal bits.
Right. Yeah. Okay. So
no, I like them, and I'm always on the fence about getting one of these dedicated for retro emulation, because there are so many, and you are absolutely right. There are far too many coming out, and it seems that every week we're discussing a new one,
yeah,
or there's some sort of new announcement, and it doesn't even give you an indicator as to what's the newest one. This is the RG505. The best-selling on Amazon at the moment is the RG350P, which is slightly less than the RG350M. What's the difference? But I suppose you could argue the same thing about, yes, Samsung. You would have a look at them, and without educating yourself too much on them, then you could end up going, I don't know what the difference between the S and the A and the M and the R and the Z and the are in there.
No, probably just different markets.
Yeah, but it's a good, solid, interesting game option for those who want it, and they can generally emulate up to around about PS2 now.
It's going to be kids, isn't it? Isn't it going to be kids on Christmas Day opening up a toy to play some games on, like we used to with non-electronic stuff when we were kids?
I don't know. I think a kid would probably just go, nah, I want my Switch. I want my PlayStation 5. It would be dad of the kid being able to plug in Super Mario Brothers and play it on the go. here and there, because it does PSP, Nintendo 64, Dreamcast, Sega Saturn, PS1. Sorry, it's just initials that I'm reading out here. CPS1. I don't CPS. Don't know. CPS2. FBA. Famicom. I don't know. Neo Geo, Game Boy Advance, Game Boy Color, Game Boy SF, Super Famicom, Famicom, Mega Drive, Sega Master System. This is more of a challenge to be able to get through these. Game Gear, MSX, PCE. PCE Engine, WSC, Wonder Swan Color. I don't know what CPS1 is.
You're on your own with that.
I wonder if I Google it, will it tell me? CPS2. And I'll kick myself
PlayStation 2.
CP System 2.
Oh, CP.
It's an arcade. Oh, right, okay. Capcom board system. Right, okay. So it does Mewe style arcade games.
Right.
Like Street Fighter Alpha and things like that are built on that. Okay.
I still rather have a Game Boy style device, like the GKD Mini Plus Classic.
Oh, yes, that one.
I really like that whole Game Boy thing, and it was just right in the hand, and it just worked. So I'd rather go for the upright rather than the landscape, but each to their own.
Yeah, each to their own. I had the Game Gear when I was younger, so I'm more used to that form factor,
Right.
I believe.
Yeah.
Whereas you had the Game Boy, although I did have a Game Boy too. I think bigger hands work better on a landscape device.
Sure.
Okay, moving on to Square Enix and how they're letting go of Deus Ex Go. I didn't even know there was a Deus Ex Go, but apparently there is. I liked Deus Ex back in the day, but they've announced on Twitter that Deus Ex Go, Arena Battle Champions, Hitman Sniper The Shadows, and Space Invaders Hidden Heroes will no longer be accessible after January 4th, 2023.
Does that mean it's going to go black market and everyone's going to download it and play it anyway unofficially?
Well, I think these are server-side games that require the server.
Oh, okay.
So they'll be shutting down the servers for them, and there are companies like GOG and things like that go and set up separate servers to be able to use them here and there, but does anyone really care? Does anyone play?
I've never heard of it. Deus Ex. Never heard of it.
Deus Ex, it's an old PC game. I think they made 3 of them. Infinity War, Deus Ex 3, and obviously this one as well, which I hadn't heard of.
Oh yeah, I've got to see a screenshot of it now. No, I've never seen that. Not surprising.
It was really good. I like Deus Ex.
Where's Mario?
It was a thinking man's first-person shooter that had stuff. I don't know what this game is all about, but it's obviously a bit like Mario Go, where they're just trying to find something that takes off.
And why do you think why do you think they're shutting
Hitman.
it down? Because it's costing them too much money to run.
Yeah, maybe it's just not the done thing anymore.
Right.
Perhaps these games are seeing their way off people's phones, where they're done with them.
Okay.
MMOs generally don't last too long either. Massively multiplayer online games. So this is just another example. At some point, Diablo Immortal is going to disappear, despite the fact people have invested heavily in that and put in a lot of money in buying stuff. And whenever it goes, you're done. There's a mention, actually. You also won't be getting any refunds if you don't use any in-game purchases. You still have before the game's shut down, right? Okay, so
Slinky link there to Stadia, which I've seemed to have lost my 20 quid on. They owe me £19.99. I've not seen any of that. Have you got your refund?
I have, yeah. Yeah, it all went in on it was Monday or Tuesday, I think
really?
it popped in. And it was more than I expected. I didn't go and have a look to see how much was there, but it was about 90 quid that I think I counted up because it all went in as individual transactions.
Did they tell you?
I saw them going into the bank account.
No, but did they email you?
Yes, they did, yeah.
I
got an email confirming each of them.
I'm checking my bank live now to see if they've sneaked in my 20 quid.
Careful now. Don't get upset and depressed.
And no, there's no sign of it. $19.99 they owe me, and they haven't paid me, the bastards.
Well, they have up until January, don't they?
Yeah,
They said it would be that long. And they contacted you first, and they seem to be issuing your refund last. Whereas they contacted me last and issued my refund first.
Logic.
Yeah.
Yes. So you got 90 quid, did you? That's good, isn't it?
And about
they
that.
could have
it was quite nice.
they could have just washed their hands of everyone and just say fingers up, 2 fingers up to everyone.
They could have. Yes, but there's still no word on whether or not they're going to unlock the Stadia controllers to allow you to use them as Bluetooth controllers on other devices. I really want them to do that because I want to be able to pair my Stadia controller with my NVIDIA Shield and play GeForce Now, because my NVIDIA Shield controller is just crap. It's got so much stick drift. It's crazy. But the Stadia controllers were good, comfortable controllers that were well built. And they were sturdy. If you dropped them, you were okay.
Right. I wonder if you can still buy them. Presumably, you can't buy them from Google, but there must be new ones kicking about from retail channels.
Well, I'll have a quick look on or eBay, and they're 99p. There's one ending in 3 hours, 99p.
Wow, 99p. They don't.
Well, that's in the box with a Chromecast Ultra, so that's worthwhile.
They don't understand about the Bluetooth thing, obviously.
No. Oh, there are some other people who are trying to sell them for £35 and things like that.
Right.
And the official USB Type-C charger for a tenner, but there's not that many, I suppose.
Right.
Well, no, actually there are. Scrolling down, there's a lot more. £45 there,
right,
for unwrapped. I guess it'll become a bit of a, if they don't do the Bluetooth thing, then it'll become a bit of an antiquity going forward. Unwrapped ones, unused ones might become quite popular. I imagine everyone will just dump them.
Yeah.
Founders Edition, £21 mint. 11 bids? Wow. Okay. People want the Founders Edition.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'll hold on to them because they do work wired. So if you want to use it on your desktop, you can use it via wired. But Bluetooth would be excellent. Please do that, Google. Please.
Yeah.
Right, flap your trap, about it up. And this is WhatsApp. What's happening with WhatsApp?
WhatsApp have had 487 million WhatsApp members' phone numbers have been put up for sale somewhere. Where is it? There's a hacking community who have... where is it they put it up for sale? Somewhere they put it up for sale. On
the dark web, probably?
Yeah. I can't get to that data at the moment, but yeah, it's a bit of a worry, really, isn't it? That, that someone has hacked into the data. And now, apparently, no one needs to worry because it's only phone numbers they've got. It's not addresses or email addresses or any other data. It's just phone numbers. And they come from 84 different countries, the people that have had their phone numbers hacked, and it's estimated that 32 million American user records are part of it. So if you're a WhatsApp user and they know what your phone number is, which they will, because you can't use WhatsApp without telling them your phone number, I think. Zuckerberg wants your phone number, or what is it? Zuckerberg wants your phone number. And it's now compromised if you're one of those 487 million people. So it's actually quite, all joking aside, it's quite difficult to do much about that, isn't it? Because not everyone, 487 million people, are not going to go and change their phone number. Once it's sold, it's sold. And the next thing down the line is that you're going to get phone calls and spam phone calls and silent calls, and once your bunch of numbers are out there, they're just going to be exploited by whoever bids and buys them all, which we know that happens. So anyway, that's what I know about it.
Well, okay. I do reckon that a network somewhere should be keeping an eye out for someone sending out 487 million text messages saying, "Are you there?" or "Can you send me a $5?" and see if anyone replies. Those old scams that they like to put out. But yeah, I guess it's always one of those things where the user data is breached, and your main safety is the fact that there's just so many people affected by it that the likelihood of them choosing you is minimal.
A positive spin.
Possibly. Another positive spin is the relaunching of the Palm system. That's right, folks. Palm Pilot OS emulator has arrived in the Internet Archive, and you can play it directly on your phone. And it allows you to access a ton of old Palm pieces of software, which is great. I had a wee play earlier on. You can do it in your browser as well, Ted, if you want to have a go.
I did. I had a go.
Dope Wars.
I had a go at playing Tetris, and within about 2 seconds, I was bored stupid with it. Trying to control the buttons with a mouse, and it was just stupid. Apart from the fact that the Palm OS thing just passed me by, I was still heavily into Nokia communicators, and I was into Scion, in fact, when all this is going on. And I looked at Palm OS, and I just wasn't interested. It just looked clunky and horrible to me. But I get that it was very popular, and clearly it was with you.
It was, yes. And I'm looking through to see some of the apps that I had bought. Apps. I don't think they were called apps back in the day.
No.
And I was struggling. I think the only one I can really remember was Butler, because it was just so useful. But I had a copy of Dope Wars on there as well, and a couple of crappy games that I would play. But there's very few colour ones. They all seem to be the older monochrome style games, and I haven't had to play around too much with the emulator to see whether or not you can change it to colour and have that. But there's Bomb Run by Julian Scott, and Daily Money, and U-Boat Alley. Oh, let's have a go at that. That looks quite good.
Just makes me shudder. I'm looking at all these screenshots of the Palm thing, and I did play about with Palm when it came out, and I just hated it so much. It was just clunky and horrible.
Well, the emulator gives you a nice wee hard button bar down at the bottom as well, and there's the graffiti zone as well that you can click about in if you need to. And opening up U-Boat Alley, it's the unregistered version.
Oh
dear, is interesting. Yes. And if you can get, if you hit hot sync, what happens if you hit hot sync? It doesn't play the noise. Oh dear. Would have been nice to hear that noise again. Anyway. It's lovely. It's a really nice way to preserve it. I have all of my Palms sitting over in a a collection of wrecked, broken, bloated, expanding battery bits of hardware lying on a shelf.
Were you really into it then? Did you embrace the whole Palm OS thing?
I did, yeah. I absolutely loved it. And, well, I didn't love it. I fought with it constantly to try and get hot sync to work.
Right.
Because sometimes it would work, sometimes it would have one small problem. I just felt it was frustrating to find out what that problem was and why it was happening. And we take so much for granted today. And I acknowledge that you've mentioned in the past, as soon as Google came along, things just got good.
Yeah.
And I agree with you there,
yeah.
But that kind of
so
thing. So
when was this then? Remind me what year we're talking about with these devices that I played with temporarily.
Well, probably about I would have come home from working abroad maybe about 2003, 2004.
So that's so 2004 is when Gmail started and the Google kicked off.
Okay, maybe before that a wee bit then.
Right, and before that was the era of the Nokia, not Series 60, but certainly the communicators. And immediately before that, I was still into Scion. So that feels about right. Yeah.
So I do remember with Orange was the network at the time that I got the 650, which I did a heartback on a while ago, the Trio 650, which was my first real movement into Palm, I think. But there was the handspring devices before that.
Oh yeah.
That I was always looking at,
going,
they look really good. They do loads of things.
I remember that.
But it was at a time where camera feature phones were all the rage, and I think Sony Ericsson was putting out good phones, and they were getting smaller and smaller, and the cameras were getting better and better. And I think people were being swayed toward getting a better camera than actually picking up one of these smarter phones.
I just found a link to the Wikipedia page, and they're saying the first one, the very first one, was 1996, so quite a long time before. But the Palm Pilot, yeah, looking down the pictures of all of these, I think I did have quite a lot of them, particularly the phone one. But I think I must have just sold them really quickly because I didn't like it so much.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, you had that graffiti thing. I forgot about that. You could write on that box down the bottom, couldn't you?
Yeah, no, it would not recognise the characters you put in. Yeah.
Oh yeah, I'd forgotten all about this.
I suppose maybe I talk about it because I was coming to it quite late, being in my late teens, early 20s, and not being able to afford to be able to buy these things. I was having to get maybe second-hand ones or cheaper deals or something like that to get the Trio 650. And then I moved across to Microsoft Windows Mobile and used it for a little while. But then I moved back to Palm in its last years because I knew it better.
Okay.
And also I bought bits of software for it that I felt that Windows didn't have, and I didn't want to have to rebuy it. So I kind of went there and then moved to Android after that. Well, I suppose, no, there was the HTCs and things like that. But there was, I remember very vividly being very excited about the Palm Folio. I thought it was going to be the be-all and end-all, which was like a laptop connection that allowed you to use your smartphone and your laptop together. And ran everything. I just thought that was going to end all of my issues with hot syncing and stuff like that, but it never actually managed to materialise. And my brother had a Tungsten, and my dad had the Palm 5, I think. I can't remember, it's over there. And he got a free M100 that he gave to me when he bought something, but I can't remember what. And it just sort of filtered in and out and in and out. So Palm was a wee bit hodgepodge, and I might have had it at the wrong time. Yeah. But it was what I made do with, and there wasn't an internet for us to know what the coolest and greatest things was. There was Scion as well. My dad was using that too. It was a bit more complicated of a time to be able to nail down the exact time that this happened.
Yeah.
Anyway, you can play them all now on the Internet Archive and work your way through the software store and remind yourself of those games that and applications that you might have had on a Palm Pilot back in the day.
Yeah. Very interesting. Even though it doesn't appeal to me particularly, it's really interesting for them to have released that, and for people that it does mean something to, go back and play with it and muck about with it and whatever, even on a phone as well as on the web. So, yeah, good for them.
Well, yeah, preservation's important, and we're going to start seeing that with the likes of what we're talking about with Square Enix. Closing down some of those games, Deus Ex Go. Yeah. Whenever that goes away, we don't get to play it anymore. And a lot of massively multiplayer online games disappear. Like Star Wars Galaxy, I don't think you can play that at all. I have another one I'm looking at right now called Motor City, which was an online driving game that you could drive around and race people. And it's dead. And it didn't last too long, but you can't play it anymore, despite having the game over there on CD.
Right. Yeah.
So it's nice to be able to preserve these
officially.
PlayStation. Yeah, they're going to do that too. Anyway, so Chrome Corner.
Yes. It's becoming less and less of a thing, Chrome Corner. I don't know. Every week I kind of look and see what's going on with Chromebooks and Chrome. And there's less and less news coming out. Do you notice that?
Kind of, yeah. Is it just me, or is Google losing interest in it? Are they running out of ideas?
Oh, right. Perhaps that's it. If you go to places like, Chrome Unboxed and the Chrome Story and those kind of about Chrome, about Chromebooks, they just kind of churn out stories about just nothing really. No, I'm not knocking.
How to do things.
I'm not knocking them because they're trying to do a good job and whatever, and they're trying to generate interest. But the news that comes out is just insignificant little things, and not. Maybe it's just like mobile phones. It went through a really big evolutionary place, and now it's kind of plateaued, and Chromebooks are Chromebooks, and they're just not particularly being pushed further, and they just kind of work, and it's all. What I would like to see is Google doing the phone hub, so that phone hub was developed and made better and more Samsung-like, because at the moment you get your phone hub working on your Chromebook, and yeah, I mean, it's quite nice that it works, but it doesn't do very much. It's not like it's not like a Dex or anything, and it could well be. It could be they could be developing that, but perhaps you're right. Perhaps they've lost interest.
Well, they've made announcements like they're really focusing on bringing Steam to Chromebooks, but it's almost like you'll get an update in a year's time as to what's happening next. It's been yonks since the last one, and I was expecting, in the coming weeks, for all these Chromebooks to start being able to run Steam natively without having to use workarounds and turn on flags and things like that. And some of them, they would be able to sort out the Borealis problem where, Borealis is required, but not a lot of Chromebooks actually have Borealis available to them. They would just be, making it a viable platform for Steam. But then it all just goes quiet.
Yeah.
For about a year, and then this time next year we'll hear, oh, yep, there's 2 more Chromebooks that can now run Steam. You're like, oh,
right,
great,
yeah, thanks,
woo,
whoopee-doo.
Yeah,
you were talking about in the week with me about something you'd like Chromebooks to do, which was what the Nokia T2021 and T10 can do, and that's not out there for you, and that is a second screen on your computer, isn't it?
Well, yeah, I was thinking, you messaged me yesterday to tell me that was out there. I have the Nokia T20, but I also have my Lenovo, and I have my Lenovo beside me, and I was using my Chromebook at the time, and I was thinking, oh, yeah, that'd be nice if I could have a second screen right here using my Android tablet, because they're both Google, and you'd think you'd be able to wirelessly cast to your tablet and have a second screen, but you can't. Whereas you can with Windows, which is bonkers.
Yeah, absolutely. They obviously decided that that's not popular enough to develop, and they don't want to do it. Whereas Nokia have said, we're going to do this, and made it happen.
But even wireless casting at that is just janky. My wife is currently using her tablet to cast to the TV, to the Chromecast, one of her church meeting type things, and she's having to use a Bluetooth speaker paired with her tablet because it'll broadcast the video, but it won't sync any sound to it. Yeah. So she has to have a Bluetooth speaker beside her to be able to hear it without using the speakers on the actual tablet, because they're a little bit weedy. So why does it have to be this complicated? Google set it up to be useful to start with, and then start messing it up, or other manufacturers come on and go, no, we're not going to have that. We want to do our own thing, like Samsung have, what is their device share or something like that? I can't remember what it is.
Oh, yeah.
And it doesn't work. You actually have to go into the Google Home app and then share from the Google Home app, or cast from the Home app, the whole device. And the sound doesn't go over with it. It's really perplexing. And my house is adorned with Google Home speakers, and they get things right every once in a while. And I think the voice behind it's getting a bit scared of me, because I'm gradually getting more and more rattled whenever I walk in and say, turn on the uplighters, and it's like, oh, I'll turn the TV on then. Or, I didn't understand what you said, and you're like, what? And said it exactly the same pitch and tone, and then it recognizes it the second time. I think Google's not paying attention to the facilities that they've set up. Instead, they're looking forward at what other things they can do.
It's no wonder that people end up with Apple, is it? To be honest, all this stuff just works. And I know that it's easier for Apple because they haven't got 1,000,001 devices to take into account and make it all work with all sorts of manufacturers' gear and blah blah blah. They've got a walled garden, if you like. And it just all works, and it does. And you can see why people go there and stay there and get in bed with them and make their life simple.
But does it work on Apple? Can you walk into a room and turn on the lights without it crapping itself?
Don't know.
I don't know that it does. I don't think Siri's that good.
I wasn't talking so much about that. I was talking more about the casting media and the airdrop and the AirPlay and the air. They've just got it all nailed. And it just, from what people tell me, I'm not an Apple user, as you know, but from what people tell me, it just all works.
But you pay for it. You have to buy expensive hardware to get it to work, so they have to make it work.
Yeah. Although iPads, the cheap iPad's not expensive. Anyway, let's not go there.
Well, there is the other option, which is going the Amazon route, and I've been sorely tempted to try that out, especially at Black Friday. I was looking at all the little Alexa speakers, cut down in price, and you can get them at 5 months or whatever, and you could just slowly replace everything that you have in the house, and hopefully it works a wee bit better than Google Home does. But then that means having to retrain everything and learn everything again.
I don't like Amazon. I like the fact that they send me stuff next day. Well, if I'm lucky, and the whole Prime thing. But I don't want to use their services. I'd so much rather use Google services. Yeah. And I just don't trust and like Amazon particularly. Anyway,
no, I'd agree with that. I would. I think they did a big update to their Photos app recently, and I think they've kind of moved away from the focus of what the Photos app should be about, and it feels more like send us your pictures than actually here's your pictures. Do you want to have a look through them?
Right.
I don't know. I just get that feeling that it's more focused on getting the information out of you as opposed to presenting the information to you in any meaningful way.
Right.
Anyway, we'll move into hark back for things old that we can reminisce about, a bit like what we just did with Pam.
Yes, it was a kind of hark back, really, wasn't it?
Well, this one is I was talking about it with my wife a wee while ago and it just suddenly popped into my head. When I was a youngster going to school, my mother would take me to Clark's shoe shop and get me a pair of shoes for the year. And the man, Tom, now sadly departed, because it was actually in the paper that he passed away, because he was so well known to everyone around town because he was the man who did your shoes. He would take you over to this big machine and you'd stand on it. You'd put your foot down into a rectangular hole type thing, and these bits of metal would come in from the side and measure the width of your foot, and then from the top and the bottom and measure the length of your foot, and it would tell you what size of shoe you would require. And it was such a thrill to do that 2-second action for your feet. I would look forward to the day when my mother was like, right, time to go and get your shoes. Ordinarily, hate shoe shopping. It's the worst thing in the world. But back then, because you got to use this machine, it worked. And I remember one year, we went down and the machine was out of order, and it was like, oh no! Despite the fact all you do is you set your foot in once, and he presses a button, and then you put your other foot in, and it presses a button. And I don't know what if having a child now, no one really seems to have that care that you're getting the wrong shoes, because all shoes are just listed with, it's a size 5. Well, what width is it? I think it goes to A to G, doesn't it, for the width? And they're like, I don't know, it's size 5. Like, yeah, that's length, but not width. And this is a problem. This machine would measure that too and tell you, oh no, you're a size 5G. You need a big fat shoe for your big fat feet. And you would go and get it. You would be much more comfortable all day long. I think Clarks still do that, but they do it with a less fancy piece of hardware. But yeah, did you ever have a machine like this that you put your foot in and trusted not to bite your foot off?
No, I didn't. I'm too much older than you to have been. When I was a child, if you scroll down the page that you've linked to here and see the green manual machine, that's the one I remember. In the 1960s, when we were going to get our shoes, we put our foot in that thing, and they would slide the end of it up so it touched your toe, and there's a tape measure built into it where it goes around the width, and it measures it all completely manually. The machine that you're talking about, I think, is the one on there's 4 in a row, and the one on the left. Yeah, and I have seen those machines, but I've never actually used one. I was too old when they came along. But those other 3 machines, I don't recognise at all.
No.
So I don't know where they fit in or what they were. But and that wooden thing, which is called a fluoroscope from 1920, you'd have to be very old to remember that. I think I'm not sure how that works, but. The point of this story, though, was that they've now developed this new way with iPads. Did you watch the video of that?
No, I got depressed at not using that.
Well, there's a video linked in here. Was this, and they're using these iPads, and the kid puts their foot inside this machine thingy, and the operator puts the iPad into the front of it and presses taps the screen, and it just measures everything, and it just does it all on this app on this iPad, and that was where it's come from. So from me and my 1960s manual machine, or the fluoroscope from 1920, right through to iPads, Clark certainly seemed to be measuring kids' feet properly. And I, like you, I remember going and being measured up in the 60s for my new shoes very fondly indeed. And of course, shoes were expensive if you went to Clark's shops. So perhaps that's part of it, is that these days people are trying to cut costs and not spend too much money on shoes, so they just get them off the shelf. Don't know.
Yeah. The machine I was talking about, if you have a look at it, it's completely over-engineered compared to the green plastic thing that you remember, because I do remember those as well. Whenever the machine was out of order, they would get these things out, and that was when I was kind of annoyed and having to use that green thing, because you'd see them lying around, or you'd wait your turn, and if your mother was in a hurry, you'd be like, I don't want to use the green thing, I want to put my foot in the machine. But it's got a little red light that whirls around, so whenever it's in action, people know that it's delicately measuring your foot.
Really?
And there's a bar to hold on to, and there's a black area for you to stand in.
Oh, yeah.
It was unbelievable that this machine did all of that. And it was the size that it was, compared to the piece of plastic that you used that probably cost them about £5. Let's get in this machine. It costs £10,000, and it'll last for 4 years.
Yeah. Very interesting.
Yeah, it was just a simple one that just took me back down memory lane on how things are different now.
Yeah, definitely. And that's taken me way back to the 1960s, seeing that manual machine, and it had all these numbers and letters and all over it, and I remember thinking how clever the bloke was to be able to work out from all this matrix of numbers which one it was that was mine, and I always had really wide feet. I still have, so I always used to get like G fittings, but
yeah,
I noticed I didn't realise that the fittings seem to go from D to I, so A, B, C don't appear to be there. I can't remember if that was a thing, or I don't know what happened to A, B, C.
That's a point.
Anyway.
Yeah, it only goes from D to I.
Yeah. Anyway, I like the look of the red light, like a siren. Is a siren going off? Someone's having their foot measured. And that screen on the top there, do the measurements come up on the screen?
I don't even think that's a screen. I think that's just a display that says Clark's.
Oh, right, okay.
I don't remember at all. I don't know how the man, Tom, managed to get an output from it. Maybe there's a bit of ticker tape or something came out the side or something just to over-engineer it a bit more. It's got a printer built in too.
That's mad.
Or it wirelessly beams it to a display
That one next
in Shaftesbury Square.
Yeah. That one next to it looks like it's much further on, doesn't it? With an actual TV screen that presumably reads out whatever. And it looks like you can put both feet on at the same time on that one.
But it's not as fun. You don't get to put your foot down into a hole and there's no moving parts on it.
Clamp your foot.
Yeah, maybe things were going wrong with these. They were going berserk and cutting off kids' feet. And they had to send in Robocop to shoot it.
Very nice.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Hopefully those fluoroscopes, I wonder if you can buy them on eBay.
Yeah.
Oh, there's loads of different types. Okay. Well, I won't get into that. That's another one for another day, maybe.
Okay.
All right. Well, moving into Bargain Basement, where things are cheap.
They are, and I'm going to start off with the Find X5, the Oppo Find X5 5G. It was 1,049 quid on release. It's now 449, and I think it's 449 because they're just releasing the X6, the Find X6. And obviously they're probably getting rid of their old stock or whatever, but that is directly from Oppo's website in the UK. 449 quid. That's a bit of a bargain.
It is, absolutely. And that's got the 80-watt SuperVOOC flash charges built in as well. That's a good... Ooh, I like that. And you can get it for £18.71 a month.
Oh, right.
Or you can do PayPal 3 interest-free credit payments. That's a nice phone.
Yeah, it is. Sadly, it hasn't got the microscope camera on it like the X3 had. But, beggars can't be choosers.
I thought you were going to come with some big statement, but the X6 brings that back.
No, it doesn't.
No.
I did look for that, but it doesn't. And I thought,
But, over on Amazon, you can get the Google Pixel 6a. And this is it's the Google Pixel 6a.
Yeah.
It's down from £400 to £297 and 6p. Or you can get it for 5 monthly payments of £59 and 42p.
If you live in Northern Ireland.
Earbuds, I note.
Yes.
It's one of the best Black Friday deals. So I don't know how long that'll last. There's a possibility that it could come to an end at the end of Cyber Monday, which we still have to go through tomorrow. That's right.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a nice phone. I've got the Pixel 7 here at the moment. Google PR sent it over for review. And actually, comparing the two, I think the 6A is better. I know that you've got the wireless charging on the 7, but the 6A, the speakers are better. I'm absolutely convinced of it. The Pixel 7 speakers are not as good as the 6As. And I know that doesn't mean much to most people, but it does to me. And it's a little bit smaller, the 6A as well, which I think is nice. The lump on the back of the 7 sticks out horribly. If only it had Qi charging. Now the 7A, apparently, I think we might have mentioned this on the show before, the 7A, there's talk of it having Qi charging. So next year's budget device might well fix that one.
Ooh, yes, absolutely.
So £297 and 6p. Nothing like a rounded price, is there?
Oh, but you can get the £100 trade-in boost as well.
Oh, right.
Which might make it even better for you. But I can't... It won't let me actually... Yeah, the JavaScript thing's not working there to be able to click it. And see if the Pixel 6 has been added to it yet. Because it hadn't last week. What's next?
Samsung UK have eventually, after about a week after America, decided on putting out their Black Friday deals. And there are some interesting ones in there. What is leaping out at me is a S22 Ultra with, £200 off across the board. I think that's probably the best deal, actually. There's also the Galaxy Book 2 Pro 360, which is £200 off. But yeah, link in the show notes to Geeky Gadgets page, which has gone to all the trouble of listing them all out nicely, and telling you exactly what to expect from which in terms of a discount. So yeah, Samsung deals.
Yeah. The S21 FE is down to £549. That's not a bad price.
That's good, yeah. And the S21 FE went a bit smaller than the S20 FE. I always felt that the S20 FE was too big, but yeah, they went down a size on that, which is good.
Well, hurrah!
Yes,
smaller phones all round. That's what we need.
Yes.
Next up is something that I mentioned earlier in the show, which is the crucial X6 4TB portable SSD. It is down from £475.19p to £225.49p.
Wow.
And that also has the 5 monthly payments available for £45.10p if you're not Ted Salmon.
That's an amazing deal, isn't it?
Yeah.
And that's much cheaper than the equivalent of the... Oh, I was going to say the equivalent of the SanDisk, but it's actually the SanDisk Extreme has got a faster read-write speed. But even so, you know, it's £379 for the SanDisk, £225. That's a serious bargain, isn't it?
It is. It's really, really enticing, especially with being able to just pay it off easily as well. That's quite nice. It would be really nice to hook that up. I was thinking about this for the NVIDIA Shield TV, just having a lump of extra storage, or even you could plug it into a PlayStation 5 and be able to move across some of your older games or an Xbox and save the precious hardware space or hard drive space for the new gen games. So yeah, that's a nice option.
Oh, there's the
There's
the faster one, which is the crucial X8 4TB, which is 265. So that's still over £100 cheaper than the SanDisk one. The crucial prices are actually pretty good, aren't they?
They are. They've done a good deal for us this Christmas.
Indeed.
Black Friday. That's
the one. Yeah. Right, over at Richer Sounds, you can buy a lovely Project Primary E turntable for £119 instead of £199. That is the basic one, mind you. That's the basic Project, the kind of cheapest one. But they're a very nice turntable, and that is belt driven as well. It's not what's it driven. You know, what's it called?
it runs off Watsits.
It's not the one that you change the... I can't remember what it's called now. Anyway, it's belt-driven, which is a little bit of a problem sometimes when the belt comes off, because the belt's on the outside, and it goes round the whole turntable. But, you know, it's all right. It's fine, and it's cheap.
Oh, is it on the... You can actually see it. Oh, yeah.
And I found... I had one of those, and I found that the bloomin' belt kept coming off. And actually, once it broke, and I wrote to Project and said to them, this stupid belt is broken, and I've only had it 5 minutes, and they sent me a new one. In fact, they sent me two, good as gold, and didn't quibble about it, and it was fine. But they're a good company.
They are, yeah. I do like these ones. I'm just having a look at the T1, the Project T1 is £300 at the moment.
Yeah.
That'd be nice.
They're very nice. As you go up the range, of course, they get much more expensive. I've got one here, which is the Elements. Yeah, the Elements, which is really nice. Anyway.
That you've set your
yes
Anker charger on top of.
It's not there now. It's gone.
Madness.
I promise.
Absolute madness.
I promise.
All right, moving over to this one, which was a bit of a curious one because we featured batteries before, but these are rechargeable batteries. They're the Amazon Basics AAA 1.2 voltage high capacity rechargeable batteries, 850 milliamp hours, and it's a 24 pack for £15, which I thought was rather good. You can also put it on subscribe and save. I don't know why you would do that with rechargeable batteries because that's the point.
Yes.
You sort of buy them once and maybe then have to replace them after a couple of years whenever they've depleted their usage. But it works out about 60p each or something like that, which I thought was rather good. And I do wonder how these work in other chargers. Do you have to have a specific charger or?
That was going to be my question, because I'm baked into the Eneloop system, and I've got Eneloop charging thingies, and I bet you they won't work with those. You can just imagine that they're going to go their own way, all these companies, aren't they?
Well, why? Why would they? There's not too many options that you can have. It should just plug in and charge, because it's a positive and negative on the battery.
You'd hope so.
They're going to have technology built into it.
No, I don't know.
Although in saying that, my mother did. She replaced her rechargeable batteries in her cordless phone with regular batteries the other day, and it burnt the phone out.
Good grief.
Yeah,
there's no charger.
All the foam in around the back had burned.
Oh yeah, there is a charger. It's a black Amazon. Oh no, a Power OWL. Power OWL.
Excuse me.
and they're selling this with the batteries as a package option. So that thing must charge them, otherwise they wouldn't be packaging them together. So I don't know.
But that just looks like every other battery charger, and it doesn't necessarily say for Amazon only.
No, it's a good question, well posed.
Yeah, I would be tempted to buy these and then not find out that I can't charge them, which I don't know. I just get the regular Amazon Basics ones, but I thought the rechargeable ones might be a nice option for folk, and that seemed like a reasonably cheap deal for 24 of them.
Good idea. Right, the Sony Xperia phones are all on sale. In fact, there's a lot. The Sony UK website, if you go through to the store, and on Amazon too, most of the stuff is on sale. The pick for me, though, of all of it, was an Xperia 1 Mark IV for the price of a Mark V. A 5 Mark IV at £929. In fact, it's cheaper than the Mark 5 Mark IV. So you get a £300 off of that, I think it is, and you get an awful lot of phone for the price of the next model down.
Well, yeah, and you can also pick it up on 12 monthly payments for £77.45.
Quiet. No one else listening to this can get this except you.
I don't know why. I don't know what I've done that Amazon like me at the moment.
Yeah.
I suppose it's because I haven't got anything going. Maybe that's it.
No, because I haven't got anything going either. But I did notice when I put my I've said this to you before. When I put my Kindle on 5 monthly payments, suddenly other things became available to me. It's like you've got to have one thing. Well, for me anyway, you've got to have one thing on the go to get offered other things. Really odd.
Yes, quite peculiar. Mm-hmm. Okay, one thing that I actually really would have liked it on, because I probably would have picked this up today because it looks really quite cool. I think we discussed this before some weeks ago, is the Amazfit T-Rex Pro smartwatch with heart rate, sleep, stress monitoring, SPO2 and temperature measurement, military grade design, 100 plus sports mode, 18-day battery life, and 10 ATM waterproof. ATM, actual time minutes, in desert grey, is down from £139 to £95. This is a good looking smartwatch, I have to say, and it looks fully featured. Should last a good amount of time. I'm not getting a monthly payment or anything on it, but are you?
Ha! No, I'm not.
No, you're not.
No. Is it a smartwatch in the sense that you can change the watch face, or not smart in that sense?
I don't know. I don't think you can.
Right.
Maybe you can.
Okay. It's got an awful lot of data going on, isn't it?
It does. And I keep hearing about these Amazfit watches being really good. Mm-hmm. And I've got a friend whose mother bought one recently, and I'll look forward to talking to him to see how she's getting on. I don't think it was this one. This is a bit chunky for her, as she is a lady of age and a lady of
hang on a minute.
Class.
Hang on a minute. If you go down to the fourth picture down on that page, you can see that when he's doing his health thingy, the whole screen does change. So I reckon you would be able to change the watch face on it. It is smart in that sense.
But that's to show you something different. So you'd probably be using the up and down and select buttons to move to the screen that shows you the SPO2 or whatever it is.
So it's limited changes then. Okay.
It could be, but I don't know whether or not there's an app that allows you to be able to download more watch faces.
No.
But the watch face that is there is one of the attractive things that's attracting me to it, because it looks pretty chunky and it's got everything on display that you could possibly want. The date and time are laid out in an interesting way. It's got the battery and there's a 3 at the side for the amount of children that you may have fathered. I don't know. But yeah, I'd probably pick that up if it was like 20 quid a month.
Have you seen the 10 cloud case for it? Compatible with the Amazfit T-Rex, and it's like a I don't know what, some sort of really thick plastic case you can clack on the front of it. Can you see that?
No, but I did actually. There's a model up from it actually, which is the Amazfit T-Rex 2. Right. Maybe this is the one we discussed, and it looked cool. It's available on 5 monthly payments for £37.80p. It's down in price from £219 to £189. Ooh, this is quite a nice one. Ooh, I like it. Ooh.
Very exciting. Check out that case though, because that looks just wild. It's like you've got this military spec watch, but you still want to have a hard case on the outside. Yes.
I don't see the case.
Okay, on my page, the one that you've linked to, it's just above it. £7.98, 10 cloud.
Oh, I see it now, yes.
And it's just like
right, okay. So
this is not hardy enough. You need this on the front.
Yeah, that does look pretty hardy.
Very nice.
Yeah, interesting.
And then my last one was the Powerhouse 521, which we spoke about earlier, so I won't bang on about that. It's still £209.99, so anyone wants it, and it's been reduced from £329.
And they've sold out.
Oh, have they? Well, they might not have done on the Anker UK website, but they might have done. Don't know.
Huh. That'd be nice. Yeah, that would be a nice option. I have just one more, and it's something a wee bit different that we haven't done in quite some time. It's a Topping DX3 Pro Plus Bluetooth LDAC audio decoder.
Oh, what?
An LDAC.
Jolly good. What do you use it for?
It's a wee musicy thing.
Right.
Well, you plug it into your computer, and it amplifies your music and makes it sound a lot nicer than it is. It's a preamp type amplifier thing for your headphones.
Oh, I see. Well, you plug your speakers in the back. Right, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And it's got high-res audio, high-res wireless audio, PCM, remote control, Bluetooth, headphone ampy type thing.
Very nice.
And it's down in price from £200 down to £169.15p. I've been very tempted to pick one of these up just to see how much it enhances audio coming out of the computer. But I don't know that I use it that often for audio to justify having one of these.
No.
You ever had a DAC on your computer?
No. I've had a DAC for my phone, and the one that I got was a FIO one, FIIO, and it just blew my head off whenever I had to turn the volume down so low that it was hardly worth bothering with, because it just damages your eardrums. But yeah, it was good fun playing with that, and the FIO stuff is made beautifully, really, really nice hardware. This one's got a nice LED readout on it, though, hasn't it?
Yeah, I did notice that some of the reviews said that the user interface is quite difficult to work your way around. Yeah. But once you get the hang of it, I imagine. Worst UI ever. Sounds good though.
What's the coaxial attachments on the back for? Oh, there's an optical one. Oh, I see. You plug it into a TV, do you? No.
Yeah, the antenna. So that would probably be for receiving digital audio.
Okay. Yeah. Very nice. Oh, yeah, because you could plug your TV's optical cable into it and then route out sound via Bluetooth. Yeah, in fact, you could do that. So you put it by your television, you plug in the optical cable, and then you Bluetooth the audio to your headphones, and you can listen to your telly. Yeah, that would work quite well, I think.
Okay, well, you're going to buy
as long
one?
as there's no latency. That's always a trick, isn't it?
Yeah, but things are getting good now. With Bluetooth 5, which this has built into it, you should be able to eliminate that.
Good.
At the source.
Very good.
Yeah.
Very nice.
All right, well, that about brings us to an end, and almost at the 2-hour mark. So we'll love yous and leave yous. If you want to get in touch with us, you can by emailing us at gareth@techaddicts.uk. You can also find us on Twitter as well, at techaddictsuk. You can find me on Twitter too, at Gareth Myles. I believe that's the same thing for Mastodon, possibly, but you have to do the .mastodon that thing. There's also mygarethmiles.com, which you can find more about me and things that I've done. Ted, where can they find you?
I think that they can. The Mastodon thing is, if they're on the same instance as you, then at Gareth Myles is good enough, as it is for me, at Ted Salmon. But if they're on a different instance, then you've got to go through the whole kind of string of the rest of it that includes the server that you're on, the instance you're on. It's all a bit complicated. Probably better to get a tiny URL. TedSalmon.com. TedSalmon.com is where I'm at. Links to all the audio podcasts and the Mewe groups. If you're not in our Mewe group or groups, then do come and join us. Links out to everything from there. And if you want to buy me a coffee, you can do that. It's at paypal.me/TedSalmon. And I shall thank you.
Rightio. Well, we'll let yous go and get on with your lives. Take care, and we'll speak to yous next week.
Bye.
Bye.